What a busy day. The 49ers have made three more picks. They have addressed four big needs with their first four picks of this 2025 NFL draft, and we are ready to talk about it live. So is the article up on the San Francisco Standard. How the 49ers addressed every level of their defense on day two of this NFL draft. This to me was a fascinating day because not only did we get a really, really clear glimpse into the 49ers strategy of reloading defensively, it's also an evolving strategy. But any strategy that evolves is obviously going to have ties to its original roots. And layer in the fact that Robert Saleh is a returning defensive coordinator for the 49ers who picked up a few new things while he was the head coach of the New York Jets. I mean, this is all going to be a fascinating strategy discussion of what the 49ers are doing. So welcome in, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, super chat, do whatever you need to. We're about to have a really, really fun 49ers discussion. This is going to be the deepest reaction to day two of the 49ers draft. First, they picked at number 43, the man who's pictured up on the screen. That is Alfred Collins, a defensive tackle, a Texas Longhorn. Matthew McConaughey even tweeted about Alfred Collins joining the 49ers. He tweeted at the 49ers. You guys could probably see that in this article. Where's Matt? There it is right there. Sweats early, sweats late at 49ers. See? A-list attention that the 49ers got there from Hollywood and Matthew McConaughey. But Alfred Collins is a big, big player, 6'6", 332 pounds. And Alfred Collins had the quote of the evening. He said, "The run will be stopped." That's it. He was a man of more concise answers in his interviews, but word efficiency, that's something that the 49ers like out of Nick Bosa. Word efficiency is something that Alfred Collins brings to the table. The run will be stopped. I mean, if you look right here at how poorly the 49ers defensive line played as a unit last season, red is bad and blue is good. The right side here, that's run defense grade. The middle here is pass rush grade. Nick Bosa was blue. He was good across the board. But elsewhere, the 49ers were terrible against the run. The only blue in run defense grade in the whole defensive line was Nick Bosa. So the 49ers have had to fix this. And the first two picks of their draft, Michael Williams on Thursday night, Alfred Collins, the big, strong defensive tackle out of Texas, a good football player, on Friday night. When we talk about the fact that the Rams drafted two defensive linemen last year with their first two picks, and then we talk about the fact that the 49ers have in many ways emulated the Rams, well, this is what we mean. Last year for LA, it was Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, both Florida State defensive linemen. Verse, a defensive end in the first round. Fisk, a defensive tackle in the second round. Well, for the 49ers, the emulation of the Rams, and I think to a certain extent, the Philadelphia Eagles is officially on. They go Michael Williams in the first round, and then they go into the second round with Alfred Collins. So you can see here a successful defensive line built up by the Rams through the draft. Draftees are highlighted under acquisition method. So they drafted Byron Young in 2023, Verse in 2024. The Rams ended up drafting four defensive linemen last year. 49ers still have 7 picks tomorrow, so they can add a couple more defensive linemen, maybe some more pass rush-oriented guys after they got two players who are very, very sturdy against the run. Again, the run will be stopped. That's what Alfred Collins said. 6'6", 332, explosive player. They used the second-round pick on him. Big body, in a lot of ways, the 49ers were very excited about the big body that Javon Kinlaw brought to the table in 2020 at the defensive tackle position. But it took him forever to figure out the knee health. And by the end, Javon Kinlaw is playing good football for the 49ers, but that was by the end of his tenure. His contract was expiring at that point. Alfred Collins played 64 of 65 possible games at Texas. So this was a player who was tremendously durable throughout the course of his college career. And Bobby Burton, who covers Texas football, actually gave us a really good scouting report of Alfred Collins that we're going to get to in a little bit. Check out On 3 Texas Football on YouTube. They're going to have some Alfred Collins content, I'm sure, if you're interested in this player that the 49ers picked up at number 43. Then we move forward to number 75, Nick Martin, linebacker, who has a very interesting relative athletic score. We're going to get deeper into this, and we're going to have some comps for Nick Martin as this show goes on. But as you can see, he's got an elite explosiveness grade, 38-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump, a great speed grade. He runs a 4.5 40. That's really fast. A 1.6 10-yard split. The agility is good too. The shuttle 4.23, but the size, he's not very big. 5'11", 221 pounds. Yet all of the talk surrounding Nick Martin, from his interview today to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan discussing this at their post-draft press conference. You should definitely check that out. I was on location. I posted the post-draft press conference. All of the talk is comparing Nick Martin to Dre Greenlaw. Remember that Greenlaw wasn't the biggest linebacker himself, although he was bigger than Nick Martin. But Greenlaw had long arms, 32-inch arms. Look at Nick Martin's arm length, 31.75 inches. So what you have here is a linebacker who's undersized if you just look at the height, but the arm length, I hope you guys like the new blazer right here. I busted out a new blazer for the show tonight. But the arm length for Nick Martin is really, really nice. And it reminds John Lynch and it reminds Kyle Shanahan of Dre Greenlaw. Now, the criticism that I initially saw of this pick is that he had a 5th-round grade. And the 49ers picked him much earlier than that. They picked him in the 3rd round at number 75 of this draft. Our SF, not our SF Niners, it was SF Data Niners. SF Data Niners pointed out that this was a pick that came 95 spots ahead of the consensus in the mock drafts for Nick Martin. But if we want to continue with the Dre Greenlaw parallel, guess where Dre Greenlaw was drafted? 97 spots ahead of the mock draft consensus back in 2019. I think the 49ers have earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to drafting and developing linebackers, whether it be Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. They're obviously working now on D. Winters, but since they were able to draft and develop the best tandem in the game in Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, it's safe to say that the 49ers scouting department knows what they are doing. And the coaching staff knows what they're doing. And Robert Saleh, before he was a defensive coordinator, was actually a linebackers coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he came up coaching the linebacker position. If he likes Nick Martin, then I think I'll trust Robert Saleh. Nick Martin plays with his hair on fire. And the most fascinating thing that I was able to gather, and I asked John Lynch about this, and this was in the post-draft press conference. Look at this. The comparison of Nick Martin's relative athletic score, it is at left, and the relative athletic score of Malik Mustafa at right. The green and the red are in very similar spots. This right here is size, right? This right here is size for Malik Mustafa. Now they're being graded against players at different positions. You have to make sure that you put that in your head first. Mustafa's a safety. Nick Martin is a linebacker. But Mustafa, 5'11", Martin, 5'11". The weight for Martin is 221. The weight for Mustafa, 209. So as expected, Mustafa's lighter because he's a safety. But look, the bench press, elite for both of these guys. Mustafa, 22 reps at 209 pounds, 26 reps for Nick Martin at the 221 pounds. Explosiveness off the charts for both of these guys. Mustafa had a 41.5-inch vertical leap. Nick Martin, 38 inches. The broad jump about the same, 10 feet for both of these players. The 20-yard split, I would say, is very, very similar for both of these guys. 2.6 for both of them. The 10-yard split, not all that different either. We don't have agility testing for Malik Mustafa, but I think you get my point at this point. Both of these guys, Malik Mustafa and Nick Martin, are built very similarly, but they're playing at different positions. And all I could think of is that the 49ers have had all of these linebackers with DB backgrounds, right? You go back to Fred Warner. He played a glorified DB position called the star not to be confused with the Jalen Ramsey star position that he played for the Rams and the Deommodore Lenoir star position that he plays for the 49ers, although maybe not for long, because we're going to talk about Upton Stout, the nickelback, next, and Upton Stout may become the 49ers' full-time nickelback. But from Fred Warner to Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, who was a safety back in college at Arizona, to Dre Greenlaw, who's actually the fastest player on the defense in Arkansas when they put the GPS tracker into his shoulder pad. Dre Greenlaw had played some cornerback actually in high school before he played the linebacker position in college. So he flew around the field. D. Winters was recruited to TCU as a safety. So all of these linebackers for the 49ers, who are really good at developing linebackers, seem to have some sort of DB background. And it's like a hack. So the 49ers are able to get good coverage out of the linebacker position in this modern day and age. Well, look at the latest linebacker they picked, Nick Martin. He might not have played any DB in college, but he's built in a very similar way to Malik Mustafa, who's a safety. And when you look at this, you say, okay, and you watch the tape for Nick Martin, who's a missile blitzing, and again, a little bit smaller, but definitely a hitter. I mean, he runs and he hits. They call him a run and hit linebacker. They call Dre Greenlaw the same thing. They call Malik Mustafa a run and hit safety. You have the same type of player at a different position. So when I talk about Swiss Army knife adaptability for the 49ers, and you talk about a joker on the defensive side of the ball, that's what San Francisco is doing. They want players who you're not exactly sure what position he is. So for Nick Martin, he's a linebacker. He hits really hard, but he can drop back and play safety because he runs a 4.5 40. For Malik Mustafa, I mean, his coverage scores were the best in the league last year as a rookie. So you know that, yes, this guy can cover. This guy's a safety. But, oh, look, this is a bowling ball coming down into the box, and he can disrupt the opposing run game. So what the 49ers are doing with their defense on an evolutionary level, on a schematic level, I see them picking up size up front. They're getting big up front. Mykel Williams at defensive end, followed by Alfred Collins, a defensive tackle. These are two big players. 270 pounds for Mykel Williams. That is not your modern-day 242-pound edge rusher. They decided to not go for Jalen Walker. They went for the edge setter, the physical presence at 270 pounds in Mykel Williams. Alfred Collins, 332 pounds. You don't see a lot of these types of players in the NFL anymore. It's been a downsizing league. So they're going big and tall up front. John Lynch even talked about Alfred Collins being able to knock down some passes. I mean, that's been a forte of his at Texas. I would hope so at 6'6". And then they're going smaller, but fast and adaptable on the back end. And this is definitely an evolution. Because I remember when Robert Saleh was first here, coming from the Seattle-style cover 3 in 2018, the talk was all about how big the 49ers corners and safeties would be, because they wanted him to be Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor running that cover 3, right? And they signed Sherman himself, and that they had Jaquaski Tart, who was a taller safety for the 49ers back in the day. It was all about size in the defensive backfield. Now it's really about size up front on that defensive line, but it is about speed and adaptability on the back seven. What you're doing is you're trying to give Robert Saleh as much leeway as possible with a secondary that flies to the ball with a bunch of missiles in that back seven to plug the big running lanes that can open up in the wide 9. But meanwhile, you want the big space heaters along that defensive front. So a rigid, imposing defensive line combined with speed on the back end, but it's versatile, adaptable speed. So you could have a bunch of jokers on the back end. So you're not sure who's playing what position. Malik Mustafa can come down into the box, or he can drop down and cover at one of the best efficiency clips that we've ever seen. He allowed 0.12 yards per cover snap last year. Really, really good metrics for Malik Mustafa. And to me, this is so interesting to track, because the 49ers are coming off a season where they downright sucked against the run. It was a bad defense last year. So how are they going to get up off the mat and figure it out in this 2025 season. Well, we're seeing how they're figuring it out. We could even look at the 49ers depth chart right now, and I still have one player to cover in Upton Stout, who's already in the name Hall of Fame. What a great name, Upton Stout. But first, we have to see how the first two guys fit in. We got Alfred Collins already put into this depth chart right here. So red signifies a glaring need for the 49ers. Before we started this draft, the 49ers had red in Alfred Collins' spot. They had red in Michael Williams' spot. So there was red across the whole defensive line outside of Nick Bosa. They have effectively filled two needs, one at the nose tackle, run stopper, defensive tackle position, one at the defensive end position opposite. I'm going to take off Leo. That's an outdated term. Opposite Nick Bosa. We just have two defensive ends for the 49ers. So they have two very capable run-stopping defensive ends. They've filled out one of the defensive tackle positions. I think they can still add another defensive tackle in this draft. We'll see. Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott. Maybe Jordan Elliott does get a start for the 49ers next season, but I think they need some more pass rushing juice. Maybe Evan Anderson develops. Kalia Davis, they're looking at as a pass rusher. We'll see what they do. They're not done drafting yet, and I still think that they may go the Rams route and draft four of these guys. But now we can add Nick Martin into the mix for the 49ers, and Martin is immediately going to challenge for the weak side linebacker spot. But where he also can challenge and get immediate experience and playing time is the third linebacker role. And this is what's different now for the 49ers. Draftees are going to be shaded in green, so you could see that they're taking care of needs as we go along through this NFL draft. That third linebacker role can be glorified safety. So you could see it could be a hybrid between linebacker and safety. The 49ers did this before when they introduced Talanoa Hufanga to the fold in 2021. Hufanga was the third safety on the field, took a linebacker's spot. That's how they broke him into the system in that season. So Hufanga was a fifth-round pick in 2021, became an all-pro by 2022, was introduced to the 49ers system and 49ers playing time by that third safety role, which basically bled over into the linebacker position. So I see something similar here with Nick Martin. Of course, he's going to compete with D. Winters, but if he doesn't win that job, if D. Winters takes another stride, and he did some impressive things for the 49ers last year, I could see playing time immediately for Nick Martin regardless. I could see him bleeding into some of that linebacker role. You could double him up with Malik Mustafa. You can do a whole lot of Joker-like things if you're Robert Saleh with this 49ers defense. Now, speaking of adaptability and buying more flexibility for the defense, why don't we talk about pick number 100? This is Upton Stout. I haven't had a chance to post the interview of Upton Stout yet, but when I do, you definitely should watch it because this guy is a character. He talks a million miles a minute. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan said that his draft reaction, like when he found out that he was picked number 100 for the 49ers, was one of the best that they had ever seen. In fact, we have video of it right now. So why don't we watch Upton Stout? I haven't seen this yet either, so you guys can watch this with me for the first time. Why don't we watch Upton Stout learning that the 49ers had drafted him at pick number 100?
Upton, it's John Lynch from the Niners, man. How you doing?
Man, let's do it,
Let's
Coach.
do it. I didn't even have to ask you. I tell you.
Let's do it, Coach.
We're ready to do it, man.
Let's do it, Coach. Come on, Coach.
I love it.
Let's do it.
I love it. I'm going to put you on with Coach. Here's Coach
on,
Shanahan,
Coach,
man.
do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it, Coach. I'm telling you,
Upton,
let's
what's up,
do it,
man?
Coach. You
You
don't
ready?
know what you just got, Coach. You just got a dog.
Oh, we know that, man. All we got to do is see this tape. We know we got a dog,
You just
man.
got a dog, Coach. I promise you just got a dog, Coach.
Dude, that fires me up, man. We've been waiting all
Man,
day.
let's
We
do it,
feel
Coach.
fortunate to
That's what
get
I
you,
wanna
man.
be, Coach. Come on.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about, man. Congratulations. Enjoy this night, man. We
Thank you,
can't wait to
Coach.
get you out here,
Yes,
dude.
sir.
You just fired me up even more, man.
Come on, Coach.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
man. Here's our owner, Jed
Come
York,
on.
dude. Congrats, man.
Yes, sir.
Upton, congratulations, man.
Man, appreciate it, Coach. Thank God. Appreciate you, Coach.
We know we got a dog. We're ready to
Come
see you,
on, now.
man.
You know it, Coach. You know you got a dog. You got the best DBs.
I know. We got it, man. We're fired up. Everybody in here's fired up. Can't wait to get you out here soon, man.
Let's do it on three.
do it,
1,
Coach.
2,
I'm
3.
saying.
Let's do it. All right. We'll have the coaches call you later on, Upton. You have fun tonight with your family.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's do it. Okay, so John Lynch said that was probably the most fun that they had in the draft room, informing a player that they had picked him, and I can see why. Upton Stout, absolute character. The guy's only 5'8", 180, but he put up the most bench press reps of any DB at the NFL Combine. At 180, 5'8", he put up 21 reps of the 225-pound bench, more than any other DB. So the guy's a certified dog, right? And that's the type of cornerback or defensive back in general that the 49ers love picking. In fact, they love picking a linebacker like that. So if we're talking about crossover between the back seven, linebacker position, and the DBs, the one thing that you have to have in common with other guys at all those spots is the dog mentality. The 49ers already claimed Trey Tomlinson, a 5'8 DB, off waivers from the Rams earlier this offseason, and now they have drafted Upton Stout at pick number 100 out of Western Kentucky. Take a look at the relative athletic score. This should look familiar to you. We're going to get this up on the screen right now. The relative athletic score, I think, has a lot in common with the one that we saw for Nick Martin and with the one that we've seen from Malik Mustafa. The guy that's not overly big, obviously he's even smaller. He's 5'8", 181 pounds, but he's really strong. Nick Martin put up 26 bench press reps, 21 for Upton Stout. And you could go down here and you could see the explosiveness, a 37.5-inch vertical, a 10-foot broad jump, the 40-yard dash, 4.44. The guy can move. I mean, it's really, really clear what the 49ers like about Upton Stout. And then you could put on the tape, and he's just going there and hitting people. He is an absolute dog. Now, what happens if Upton Stout wins this nickelback position, as I think the 49ers expect that he will? That means Deommodore Lenoir can focus on playing outside cornerback. He doesn't have to rotate between outside and inside, and it can help Deommodore Lenoir take his game to the next level. So when Kyle Shanahan says, as he did today, that the 49ers have filled 4 needs with their 4 picks, that's what he means. They really had a pronounced need at nickelback because they wanted Demo to be able to stay on the outside. They were terrible against the run last year, and they needed to revamp the defensive line. That's why they picked Alfred Collins. Same reason yesterday for Michael Williams, who's now in the building for the 49ers. Michael Williams gives Bosa that bookend that he needs to help the 49ers run defense. And then when you look at Nick Martin, well, obviously they lost Dre Greenlaw this offseason, so they had to draft a new linebacker. Nick Martin comes in as that linebacker, and I can't help but notice the evolution of that linebacker spot. It's becoming almost unrecognizable, the difference between linebacker and safety. When you look at Malik Mustafa, the bowling ball himself, plays like a cannonball at that safety position. I think Nick Martin plays in much the same way. So we're going to get to see these guys compete for starting spots this next year. I think it's time to get the nickelback Upton Stout, who had that amazing call. Just big-time personality, talks so fast. I can't wait to post the interview for you guys. Maybe we'll even play it in a little bit because I have it on my phone, but I'm going to transfer it to the computer. On my phone is sitting over there. So I'm going to have to grab the phone in a little bit so maybe we can hear Upton Stout talk in his interview with the media following the pick. Okay, now we go to the depth chart and we see where Upton Stout fits in. I think that this one is obvious. At first, we had Trey Brown listed as the 3rd cornerback, although I think Trey Brown is more of an outside corner for the 49ers. The Trey Brown understanding was that if the 49ers didn't have a specific nickelback, then Deommodore Lenoir would slide in there in nickelback situations. But now that they have a specific nickelback, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily move Trey Brown out of this equation. I'm going to put Upton Stout, who, by the way, he's already in Canton for the Name Hall of Fame. How great of a name is that, especially for a 5'8 nickelback? Upton Stout. There we go. Upton Stout is a rookie, so he gets highlighted in green. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see. Darrell Luter Jr. has a chance, maybe his last chance, to really make a mark on the defensive rotation. Maybe we knock Trey Tomlinson down to extended depth at the 49ers corner position, and we put Trey Brown in right behind Diamara Lenore as outside cornerback depth. As you can see, the teal highlights are players, veterans whom the 49ers added to the football team over the course of free agency or through waivers, was the case with Trey Tomlinson. They did a lot of work in the secondary so that they wouldn't have the pronounced needs that they have at other positions at outside cornerback, but they still had that need at nickelback because they didn't have a specific guy for that spot outside of Diamara Lenore. And if they can, in an ideal world, they will take that burden off of Diamara Lenore, and that's what Upton Stout gives the 49ers a chance to do. But you go and you put on the tape of Upton Stout, and the 49ers area scout who discovered him told John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan that this guy has the heart of a lion. And put on the tape, and the very first 2 plays, he is going into the backfield and blowing up players who weigh at least 30 pounds more than him. I mean, without any semblance of fear, Upton Stout is muscling up in the backfield. You know, K'Wan Williams, I think, is a comp that the 49ers have made. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch think that Upton Stout reminds them of a young K'Wan Williams, the former 49ers nickelback. But it must be noted that K'Wan Williams only put up 8 bench press reps at his NFL combine. Upton Stout put up 21, the most of any DB. So I look at him as a K'Wan, but a stronger K'Wan Williams. And when you look at Malik Mustafa, who put up 20-plus bench press reps, and when you look at Nick Martin, who put up 26 of those 21 of those bench press. No, Martin was 26, I think. I don't want to shortchange these guys on their bench press reps, so let's go back. Martin was 26. Yeah, Nick Martin was 26. Malik Mustafa was 22, and we saw Upton Stout with 21. So all smaller guys, DBs, who have just muscled up on the bench, are extremely proud of it because I think that's emblematic of how they play the game. The 49ers want the quickness on the back end, but they love the long arms. And Malik Mustafa also arm length over 30 inches, but Nick Martin arm length at nearly 32 inches. That resembles Dre Greenlaw's arm length. And you could trace this adaptability down to the nickelback position in Upton Stout. I think there are so many commonalities between different layers of the 49ers defense. So, take a look right here. This is the article that I wrote up on the San Francisco Standard. I think that, we were updating this article throughout the evening as the 49ers were making their picks. And our thing was how the 49ers addressed every level of their defense on day 2 of this NFL draft. I thought that was the perfect headline to sum things up because they went defensive tackle the day after going defensive end. So they handled the front, then they go linebacker with Nick Martin, then they move back to the secondary, a very important nickelback position with Upton Stout. And as they do that, they fill the needs, but they also show us how the philosophy has evolved. Guess what? This draft is not even 50% done for the 49ers. This draft still has 7 picks to go. They entered with a league-high 11 picks. They've gone through 4 of them. Tomorrow is going to be tremendously busy, and we are starting much earlier. This starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. So I'm going to be going late into the night here talking about what they did on day 2. It's been a defensive focus for San Francisco. We expected this to be a defensive focus for the 49ers in this 2024-25 draft because that's where all the holes were. When you look at this roster and you look at the green shading of this roster, look, all the work so far in the NFL draft has been done on the defensive side of the ball. Now, do they have holes on the offensive side of the ball? Yes. I still think they need to add a tackle because even if Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz start, who's the swing tackle going to be? Is it going to be Spencer Burford? Yeah, maybe he has alternated or shifted over to that tackle position, but I really would advise the 49ers to add some more insulation and add some more depth to the exterior line. I still think they need to add a wide receiver. What are they going to do about that position? We were talking about Kyle Manor. We were talking about Jordan Watkins. We were talking about Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams is off the board. Still something the 49ers need to do. They still need to add a running back. They need more depth at that running back position. I think most fans were hoping that they would wait to add that running back until late in the draft, and I think that it's looking that's going to happen. The running back pick did not come in the third round, even though Kyle Shanahan was joking around with us that it might. It's going to come on day 3 or maybe even in undrafted free agency. There still is a hell of a lot of work for the 49ers to do, and they still have a hell of a lot of picks in order to do that work. They've got 7 of their 11 picks still coming up on day 3 of this draft. And we talked about this draft being really meaty in the middle, maybe even bleeding into day 3. John Lynch thinks that earlier on tomorrow on day 3, there's a good chance that the 49ers are going to find some starting caliber players. That's really, really worth noting for San Francisco. They wrap up with 3 picks in the 7th round. So the 7 are 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 7th. They're going to have a break in the 6th unless there's some trade action happening tomorrow. And we're going to be able to really track the 49ers' evolution, their philosophical ponderings about how they're going to build this team. It was fascinating today, and I think it's going to be even more rewarding to track tomorrow. All right, guys, this is going to be a big show. It already is a big show. It's late, and we have over 1,000 of you in here, which is really neat. I am ready to answer some good questions. Value is determined by what players produce on the field. Thank you. Yes. Greenlaw was 90 picks ahead of where he was supposed to go, but is anybody complaining about Dre Greenlaw? No. And if we're going to be drawing the link between Nick Martin and Dre Greenlaw, well, we have to note that Dre Greenlaw was 97 picks ahead of the consensus. Nick Martin, 97 picks ahead of the consensus, or 95 picks ahead of the consensus as well. That is yet another similarity here. Now, will he produce on the field? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be some kind of oracle in this regard. All I can tell you about is 49ers strategy. I could explain the strategy, and we can have an intelligent discussion about it. And I can tell you that this is why they believe he's going to produce for them. They liken him to Dre Greenlaw because of his run and hit mentality, the arm length. I mean, the first thing that Nick Martin said, or the 49ers tried to tell him on that one call, is that they need somebody to hit like Dre Greenlaw. And he said, Coach, I know, because he's been following Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw through the years. So he's ready to fill that role. And that's why the 49ers are very, very bullish about this. We've got a question. Why didn't the 49ers go out there and get Arante Ursary? He seemed like a perfect fit. Well, they might not have thought that he was that good. I mean, they brought him in for a 30 visit, so they were obviously very interested. I mocked Arante Ursary to the 49ers, 6'6", 331 pounds, but still a little bit of a raw prospect at the tackle position. It was still going to be a projection for Arante Ursary to develop into the type of dominant tackle that you'd want him to be in the future. So the 49ers thought that they had better prospects on the defensive side of the ball. So just because we see the game one way doesn't mean that the 49ers brass sees it exactly that way. And I thought that Kyle Shanahan's comment today was telling when he said that the 49ers have filled 4 needs with their 4 picks. They went into this draft really looking to plug some holes. This was a very need-oriented draft for the 49ers. John Lynch even said, despite the fact that somebody like Upton Stout, somebody like Nick Martin wasn't expected by the prognosticators to go until the 5th round, the 49ers were totally okay taking them in the 3rd round because this is how they charted it out entering the draft. That was their evaluation of these players to fit specific needs, and most of those needs, especially for the players whom the 49ers have drafted early, have come on the defensive side of the football. I think that there's a little bit of an epidemic going on in football analysis where people think that their mock draft is gospel. They think just because they fill out a lot of these mock drafts, they think that teams must automatically be thinking in the same way. And that's just not the case. Teams are going to be thinking often independently of how fans think. So you cannot sit there and get all torn up about differences between mock draft consensus and where a team actually picks a guy. Dre Greenlaw is the best example. He was picked 97 spots ahead of where the consensus had him. And if you went by consensus, you would have tossed Dre Greenlaw's career out the window before it even began. Instead, he delivered so many big plays for the 49ers and was a player that fans and the 49ers themselves were torn up about losing over the course of this offseason. So it's not about where a player was drafted. It's about how a player produces. And it's up to the teams. It's up to the executives, the scouts to figure out who projects best in the 49ers system. That's why I sit here and instead of obsessing over where the guy was drafted, I think that we take this show to the next level and we talk about strategy. We talk about philosophy. I asked John Lynch today about Malik Mustafa and Nick Martin and the similar athletic builds and adaptability of the safety position. And I look for patterns. And I think we've identified a pattern. I think that we've seen the 49ers trying to get big up front, fast, and adaptable on the back seven. Now they've got 7 more picks on Saturday in this NFL draft, and it's going to be fascinating to see which direction they take those selections. Which pick out of the Niners' choice do you wish that they got? Mason Graham, etc. I don't think of those terms. I deal with reality. You know, I told you so many times over the course of the past few weeks, these mock drafts are getting annoying. Let's just see who the 49ers actually pick, because so often it's divergent. Almost every time it's divergent from how people project it. The draft is super unpredictable. It's like a game. You could script your plays, but you're still going to hit third down. You're still going to hit fourth down. You're still going to hit 2nd and 15. So I actually wanted to deal in reality and not conjecture. Now that we're dealing with reality, I'm not going to say what if, because the 49ers weren't able to pick the players who went ahead of number 11. They even tried to trade up for the guy that they did pick, Michael Williams, but they couldn't successfully trade up in that scenario. So, it's one of those things where it's completely fruitless to say, oh, should they have gotten Mason Graham? Because they couldn't have gotten Mason Graham. I think that they were locked in on Michael Williams at an even higher spot than number 11. And it's time for fans to just accept that, because that's the philosophy that the 49ers are adhering to. They want to start being better against the run. They want to give Nick Bosa a good bookend. They worked on defensive tackle today, as we expected, with the 2nd pick of their draft when they went to Alfred Collins out of Texas, and I don't think that they're done, because if we go back and we look at the Rams formula, we go back and we look at the Eagles formula, those are both football teams that just kept on adding to the talent well at that offensive or at that defensive line position. Everybody seems to be talking about Shedeur Sanders. All I know is that Shedeur Sanders was not nearly as good as his dad was pumping him up to be. I mean, the fact that he got his jersey retired at Colorado, it seemed to me as a very, very thinly veiled attempt to pump up his draft stock. Like, oh, he got his jersey retired? Well, we have to pick him in the 1st round. The NFL doesn't think that way, though. And they don't want to take on extra baggage if they don't have to. And if they see that Deion Sanders is meddling in this situation more than they're comfortable with, and Shedeur Sanders' talent level doesn't match what they deem to be worth it, then that's why he's still unpicked. And I get that it's creating an uproar, but the last couple years have created a media uproar that I think Deion Sanders has intentionally created around the whole situation. He was billing him as the number 1 overall pick a long time ago. That's not going to be up to Deion Sanders to decide. That's going to be up to the rest of these NFL teams to decide. So I get it. That's the biggest story nationally of this draft, but it's a reminder that draft projections do not run the show when the draft actually happens. The teams run the show. And guys are often not going to go in the same spot that they are projected to go in. In a very extreme instance, Shedeur Sanders represents that truth. Like and subscribe. Yes, I would really appreciate it if you guys did that. I am with you here late on a Friday night, going past 10 p.m. I haven't even had my In-N-Out burger. Should I go back to In-N-Out burger tonight? I think I have to, unless there's some good late night food here in the Santa Clara area. I stay in Santa Clara during the NFL draft. I'm not as familiar with the late night dining game around here. I'm not going to drive all the way up to the city to go to Taqueria Cancun. I do have to be back at the stadium tomorrow at just over 9 a.m. So it is a marathon, and I got to treat it as a marathon. I have to make sure I'm treating it as a sprint and a marathon simultaneously, which is the hard part, but doing my best here. Have I had sushi burrito in San Francisco before? Yes, I have. The sushi burrito, not bad. Curry Up Now, the chicken tikka masala burrito, not bad either. Trent Williams is not 38 years old. You're saying Trent Williams is 38. He's my age. He's 36. He's not 38. Come on. You're trying to age me. Don Giovanni says, Trent is 36, you casual. People, the way that I thought that it was going to go, I thought the 49ers would have picked the tackle. But I also recognized that they were in a massive defensive reconstruction this NFL draft. And I recognize that they have very specific criteria for the tackles that they pick. This is something that I hope that I prepped you on before this draft. And given that, if a guy doesn't fit those specifications, and I think that Armand Membu and Will Campbell and maybe even Kelvin Banks Jr. would have fit those specifications, but they were gone before the 49ers picked. So then I thought, can they get a tackle moving into day 2? And I thought about Josh Connerly out of Oregon. I thought about Arante Ursary out of Minnesota. And I thought, okay, maybe the 49ers will go for Ursary since he was still available, unlike Connerly entering today's draft, but they didn't do it. They decided that they wanted to go defensive tackle instead, which it doesn't shock me. It wasn't what I projected, but I understand that the draft is something that could go 500 different ways. So getting hung up on the 49ers not picking a tackle at this point is a little ridiculous to me, since they still have 7 picks to go, and we already knew what their overarching philosophy regarding drafting offensive tackles was entering this draft. They would have had to find a true exception. Now, the one that I wonder about is Charles Grant out of William & Mary. He went to pick number 99 to the Raiders, right ahead of the 49ers at number 100. I thought the 49ers, who had a private workout with Charles Grant, were interested in drafting him. Of course, they went to the name Hall of Fame guy, who is Upton Stout, at the pick right after that. John Lynch says that's what they're planning to do all along. Is John Lynch being truthful there? We won't know for at least some time, but it's 4 picks on the defensive side of the ball to fit 4 needs for San Francisco. Look, this guy's, whatever, David. What are you whatevering me for? Your whining does not change the reality of the situation. The team is going to draft the talent that it sees fit, and then they're going to try to fit those positions in, how they work. We knew that the 49ers had big-time defensive needs. They've filled a lot of those defensive needs. We know that they're happier with their offensive line than fans on the outside have been, and we also know that even if they were trying to upgrade their offensive line, it was going to be very hard to do so at the tackle position outside of the top 10 of this draft. So your whatever to me, I'll give you a whatever right back. I don't know what else you want. But if you keep on whining, it's definitely not going to change the reality of the situation. Smash that like button. There are more than 945 people watching, though, Kevin. We got 1,100, and we started so late today, which is really impressive. I mean, I'm just so busy there at the facility. I wish that we could start during some of these picks just to do them in real time, but I have to collect that intel, and then we post all those videos from the facility. So can't quite do that. Tomorrow is going to be a marathon with the 7 picks. Maybe we'll go live after one of them. The issue is that I'm at the facility, so I'm not really in position to sit down here. I've got the studio set up in the hotel room. Franny likes this late night Lombardi show. Yeah, late night Lombardi. Come on, we got to bring that back. It's been a while since we ran a proper late night Lombardi, but this night calls for it. The 49ers have added 3 more players. Those of you just joining, San Francisco, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, and Upton Stout joined the team. They're big up front defensively, fast and adaptable on the back 7. When you look at my article up on the San Francisco Standard, This is, where is it? We got to get this one back up on the screen. I've got the depth chart. Everything's buried here. Here it is. Let's get this one up there. The article up on the Standard talks about the all-out assault that the 49ers made on every single level of the defense. And they even got Matthew McConaughey to chime in on the draft. We talk about the draft position versus the big board rank for somebody like Nick Martin, emblematic of Dre Greenlaw. I have my whole theory here with Malik Mustafa. But by the way, John Lynch verified this. We're talking to John. Nick Martin and Malik Mustafa have very, very similar athletic scores. 49ers trying to build that adaptability on the back end. Here's Upton Stout, somebody who's built like K'Wan Williams, who also, I think, shares a lot in common with the players of the other positions that the 49ers have drafted over the past couple of years. And, I'm not afraid to look at how bad the 49ers were up front last year, which goes back to the Mykel Williams and the Alfred Collins picks. They're really trying to fix this, add way more blue to this chart in 2025. It just wasn't, they were terrible against the run last year, as you can see on the right side of that chart. All right, questions. It's time for a lot of good ones. I will answer however many I feel like answering before I get way too hungry. Also, your food recommendations would be really nice. If it's In-N-Out Burger, I'll take that as a recommendation, and I'll head there right after we are done with this show. Shedeur Sanders, perfect third-string quarterback. Again, I don't think that the 49ers would want the media circus that comes with that. There's a point where the drama of everything right now would become a distraction, right? I mean, people would want to talk to a third-string cornerback, and they would want Deion Sanders would have his opinions about his son being on the football team. They would want to give that the type of attention that a third-string quarterback never gets. And I think at that point, the talent is outweighed by whatever attention would be taking away from the 49ers' focus on the other end. We got a new member. Hell yeah. You guys can sign up for a membership to the channel. That is a good way to support us. That is available on the channel. Go ahead and do that right now. Support our work on the draft. Support our work that's coming through at the San Francisco Standard with the big article that we were able to put up on the Standard today. There it is. Alfred Collins, 6'6", 332 pounds. Offense tomorrow? I would think so. I would think that we'll get at least a couple picks on the offensive side of the ball. But again, I don't think they're done defensively. The Rams, they had 4 D-line picks in 2024. 4. Just like the 49ers, they picked an end and a tackle in rounds 1 and 2. Then they picked 2 more guys on day 3. So I think the 49ers could very well go that route as well. They can keep on stacking defensive linemen in this draft. It's a very deep draft for the defensive tackle position. There still is some talent out there for San Francisco. They're not going to just go to offensive line for the hell of it. Like, oh, now we need an offensive lineman. If they might pick an offensive lineman next, but you can't say definitely, because that's not how the draft works. The draft is like a game. So, I mean, you could have a streak called, you can have a deep post called, you can have a crosser called, but if all of a sudden it's 4th and inches, if that's the situation that you hit the next time that you pick, you might want to audible out of that play. You might want to go to something else. So I think it's just really, really imperative that people realize that the 49ers have to think on their toes in this draft. They can't just say, okay, offensive line next, quarterback next, cornerback next. Just not how this draft works, and you're setting yourself up for big disappointment if that's the mentality that you're taking into every pick. Got another new member, Matt Calloway. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Memberships are open for business. You can help me go get an In-N-Out Burger if you sign up for a membership right now. Double protein style fries and a vanilla shake. I think that's what the stomach is ordering right now. Mike says, welcome to our new member. Thank you. Greg is going to eat it in and out. Good. Feels like I'm a walking in and out advertisement or a sitting in and out advertisement right now. Mike, do we have any more cool videos that we need to play from today? I think we do, actually. I think we got a couple more of pick reactions. Why don't we get these up on the screen? Pick reaction videos are some of my favorites. Here's one more.
Hey, Nick.
What's going on?
This is John Lynch from the 49ers. We're going to make you a Niner, buddy. You play our style. And we can't wait to get you here, buddy.
Oh, yeah, man.
You fired up?
I'm ready to get to work.
All right.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, let's go. Here's Coach Shanahan. I'm going to put him on. All right, buddy?
Okay.
All right.
All right, bet. All right. For sure.
Hey, what's up, man? Congrats, dude.
What's going on, man?
Dude, you excited?
Appreciate you.
Dude, appreciate
Oh,
you,
yeah,
man. Dude, I'm just sitting here just watching your highlight tape again just to get excited.
Yeah, man.
You're our favorite
Oh,
hitter
yeah,
coming
man.
out, man. So it's time to
yeah,
step
man.
it
I'm
up, get
excited.
here and help us, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey,
I'm ready to get to work.
Where you at right now?
I'm in Oklahoma with my family. Me and my girl. My son gonna be here soon. So I just had a newborn a couple weeks ago. So it's an exciting time.
Dude, congrats, man. That's so cool. All right,
Appreciate it,
man.
man.
Well, enjoy the night, man. Here's our owner to speak with you, Jed York here.
Okay, bet.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. You enjoy this night with your family. Everybody's fired
sir.
up here. We can't wait to get you here. We'll make sure
Appreciate
Coach
it, man.
Sala and the rest of D staff gives you a ring in a little bit, but you guys go celebrate.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Congratulations. Welcome to the Niners.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here. Thank
Bye.
you.
So that was Nick Martin. Got to hear the room clap first. That was Nick Martin, 49ers linebacker. They've compared to Dre Greenlaw. They're excited about the long arms. They call him a run and hit linebacker. And then I believe that we still have one more because we've showed you Upton Stout. We've showed you Nick Martin. And I really think the best part of the draft are these calls. I think this is going to be the last one to Alfred Collins, or actually the first one of today.
Alfred,
What's going on?
it's John Lynch. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good, man. We're going to make you a 49er right now, and we're thrilled to do so. All right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations to you, buddy. Let's hear it for Alfred, guys.
Oh.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
Gonna pass you on to our head coach, fellow Longhorn, Kyle Shannon.
Oh, yeah.
All right, man.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Nothing, dude. You pumped?
Oh, I'm hyped, man. Ready to get to work, man.
We've loved the tape from the beginning, and now you get to come out to the Bay, man. You in Austin right now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Hey, well, enjoy the family. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your last night in 6th Street, dude, because we're coming out here, and we'll have more fun playing football, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, dude. Hey, here's our owner, Jed York, all right?
All right.
All right, man.
Alfred, congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
We're happy for you. Can't wait to get you out here, man.
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
Enjoy with your family tonight. Celebrate. We'll see you soon, bud.
All right. Thank
I'll
you.
make sure all the coaches call you soon.
All right.
All right, man. Have a great night.
Enjoy your last night out on 6th Street. It's funny, I hadn't thought about it before, but Kyle Shanahan's a Longhorn, Texas, Austin. I guess he'd be more of a 6th Street guy than a Rainy Street guy, right? Well, he went to 6th Street. That's what he did not pull out the enjoy your last night on Rainy Street. He said, enjoy your last night on 6th Street to Alfred Collins. So Shanahan, he knows Steve Sarkisian, who is Texas's head coach. Shanahan played wide receiver for the Longhorns. Fellow Longhorn comes to the 49ers. First time that they've drafted a Texas player under Shanahan and John Lynch. So a little bit of full circle symmetry there for the 49ers. We continue our deepest reaction of day 2 of this 49ers draft. Yes, the 49ers are getting younger. They're getting faster. They hope that they're getting healthier. They're hungrier. I'm getting hungrier as the minutes roll by. I mean, the more that you guys ask good questions, the better things get, or the more that you guys sign up for these memberships. Wayne Jenkins joins. In the description, you've got the link to the article. This is the deepest analysis as far as reaction goes video-wise, but we also have the deepest analysis with the written word, and that's up on the San Francisco Standard. So be sure to check that out. If you guys appreciate the hours and hours of work that is going into all of this, then I think that support here to the Standard and to the YouTube channel definitely is the way to go. I think I'm so hungry at this point that I'm seeing double. So I think that it's time to head on out to In-N-Out Burger. Fun show, guys. Thanks for watching. Be up bright and early tomorrow morning. Let me just give you guys a hint. Be up before the draft because I'm going to have some content for you then. So set that alarm bell. Be ready for it. This has been the deepest reaction of day 2 of the 49ers draft. We'll talk to you very soon.